Hi, my name is Daphne Thomson, and I help municipalities implement AI wherever they need it in order to combat that burnout and overload. And today's topic is all about AI in recruitment and AI in the human resource sector. And I have the utmost pleasure to chat today to James. James, please tell us a little bit about you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Daphne. My name is James Moller. I'm a senior human resource and labor relations leader with over 20 years experience across the public sector, municipal governments, utilities, and complex multi-site and multi-entity organizations. Most of my career has been spent working in a unionized environment, supporting collective bargaining, workforce planning, organizational transformation, and advising boards. But again, at the core of my work, I'm a people first leader. I believe in strong performance. It comes from trust, clarity, and creating environments where people feel valued, supported, and empowered to do their best work. I've done a number of engagement strategies, recruitment strategies, performance management. And again, I'm drawn to it because it's all about people.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. How we actually met was on LinkedIn, and I saw one of the posts you made, and then you sent me this amazing article about McKinsey company that started to use AI in their actual hiring process. And I thought it was flipping amazing. So just to tell you a little bit what it said is, first of all, they created a little AI bot of their own, which is similar to a type of chat GPT or Copilot or Grok or one of those perplexities. But this is specifically to see how a candidate would use AI as a skill. So they looked at the type of prompting that was given as part of the hiring process. They looked at, of course, the feedback that the AI gave and how the candidate read it, how the candidate reasoned with it, the edits that the candidate made. And that was part of the hiring process. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant because as we move into AI, this is going to be another skill. Example, how do we to be proficient in Word and Excel and Outlook and all of those. AI is just another tool to make that a skill set, right?
Absolutely. It's just a different perspective that this employer has. And, the takeaway I have is AI fluency isn't about replacing human thinking. It's about enhancing it, working with it, embracing it for the future.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So the first question that we usually get is, oh, AI is going to take people's jobs. Now, the fact is, some of the jobs will probably be taken. Some of the tasks AI will probably take over. That is, sorry, a fact. I mean, in every industry where technology has stepped in, it has eliminated some of the human jobs. However, it also opened up a whole bunch of other jobs that's there, right? So,
Oh, absolutely.
can you maybe chat a little bit about that and the fear that people have when AI is stepping into the workforce?
Again, I think it's a valid fear for some individuals who aren't willing to embrace the new technology. AI has been used daily by many employees around the globe in North America, but most companies aren't yet seeing the major drive for business transformation. Many Canadian organizations hesitate to even adopt AI because they see it irrelevant to their business needs or, their fragile talent dynamics, whether it be gaps in skills or readiness, or they worry about privacy and ethical risks, or unsure about the return on the investment. I came across a very cool statistic. Recent data in Canada shows that only 2/3 of Canadian businesses, around 67%, do not plan to use AI in the next 12 months, with another 19% of those organizations being uncertain, leaving only a small portion of actively planning adoption right now. Again, to make the most of AI, organizations need to focus on the right mix of skills, tools, and mindset across their teams, but you need to embrace. Um, I like to describe AI as an extra set of hands for HR teams, that unpaid assistant, especially, when human resources is already stretched thin and has limited resources. When used well, AI can take care of routine, time-consuming work, bringing consistency to the processes and support better decision-making, free up this valuable time that HR leaders need to focus on what really matters: people, relationships, and good judgment.
I agree with you, but AI can also give a solution, or at least aid in the solution of the minimizing talent pool that we don't currently have in local government, and the talent scarcity that there is. There is a shortage right now, and I strongly believe that the use of AI will help in that regard. But it is like you said, we need to be able to address that change management, because in essence, that AI is just a tool. It is just a tool that can help things and help along the workforce. But it is that change management piece. So how would you address that in the HR field or in recruitment even?
Well, I don't profess to be an expert in AI solutions. Again, it's something that has intrigued me on how I can align it with my current work. I've been utilizing AI platforms for the last 5 years, and I've gradually integrated AI into my own work, starting with writing and editing, summarizing documents, including collective agreement articles for bargaining. More recently, I've used it to support data analysis using spreadsheets, looking at patterns, organizing insights. I want to be clear that AI outputs are always treated as decision support tools. Everything
Support.
needs and
That's
still
the
needs
key.
to be reviewed and validated. It needs to be vetted
Exactly.
before people relied upon.
But it's the support tool. It's not the end goal. It is the
Correct.
support. I like what you
Uh,
said, that AI is the free, well, or $30 a month type of assistant that you have. It's not human. It is a tool. It can lighten the load, but the oversight still stays human responsibility.
in a very competitive industry I was recently in, during a recent recruitment drive, AI really helped to screen hundreds of candidates' resumes for us. It summarized the key skills and drafted structured interview notes for us, for the hiring managers. Uh, what would have taken the time a full week probably was completed in a matter of minutes, or at most an hour. This freed us to focus on the human side, doing the interviewing the candidates, being there authentically, and listening, rather than scrambling to write down notes, coaching our managers and leaders, and ensuring alignment with our organizational culture.
So I do want to play a little bit of devil's advocate. Now, I know
Mm,
I am a pro AI supporter, but
wonderful.
when we had our initial chat as well, you mentioned that there are some things that a resume doesn't say, and that's true. And because ATS usually picks up on specific keywords, and it's very easy, or it was very easy to just in white font or something put in the keywords there so that ATS can pick up your specific resume. But how did you make those differentiation when AI said not to interview a specific candidate while you said yes?
Well, again, we were in a very tight situation where we weren't getting really good, credible candidates with the experience that we were seeking. And again, it allowed me to go back to the screening criteria that we as humans initiated on our platform. And it basically eliminated a number of candidates. But once I reviewed them, personally, I found some very worthy candidates, and we actually employed them.
So what I'm hearing is AI is a massive tool. It does cut down on so many of the research or the admin side or even the scrutiny part of it. However, human oversight is still of the utmost importance, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are limits of AI, and it's important to know that AI should not, make final decisions on whether it be disciplinary matters or final hiring selection, or even medical or accommodation matters. These require that human judgment, context, and accountability.
Dave, I cannot say that better. That is so true. But I also want to touch a little bit on HR and policy
Mhm.
and AI. So we chatted a little bit about this before, but I am starting to lean a little bit in two ways. I mean, a platform definitely needs their safety guards and their policy regarding that. However, from the user side, should a local government really have a standalone AI policy, or can we incorporate the code of conduct or the way that we behave in the workplace with an AI lens? So rather put in the AI part within the policies and the HR policies that we already have instead of creating a whole new one. What do you think?
Well, I think there needs to be a caveat. We need to use, we need to have alignment with our values and the
Mhm.
legislation. The use of AI must align with our organizational values. They must, align with our collective agreements and relevant Canadian laws and regulations, including employment and human rights, privacy, and data protection legislation. Where AI is being used in higher risk applications such as AI generated or AI assisted video or other types of media, additional safeguards and transparency and compliance measures should be considered. We have these policies in place, but for the most part, for very little contact for these, I don't really know that it is relevant in creating brand new individual policies on AI. But again, we might want to talk about the transparency or how we comply and how it's being used and those safeguards. Again, it's a brand new tool. Again, we want to reassure our leaders and our councils and boards that, hey, we're on the right track here and we're doing things and we're in compliance and we're trying to reduce risk and liability to the organization.
Yeah, I'm just thinking all of the things that we're currently using is policies that we already have. And
Well, yeah, we
AI,
have that IT and privacy
yeah,
policies in place, and they cover
right.
many AI related risks, especially for, as I said, the low risk use. However, they don't really address, as I said, bias or transparency or human oversight or appropriate use. So again, as a result, most organizations don't need a full standalone policy, but they should maybe add a brief AI specific addendum or a standard to close those gaps, just to reduce that risk and again get that buy-in and that acceptance from our leaders.
And I agree with you, but that's what I mean. That we already have the policy,
Yeah.
so just review it with an AI lens. But you
Again,
mentioned something really interesting right now about biases. Now we all know that AI can hallucinate. AI is smoking shrooms on the weekends. It can come up with the most ridiculous stuff. We all know that. However, works on data sets. So it is all about where it gets its sources from. And the sources can be biased. That, like, it can be sexist, it can be racist, any kind of is that there is, it can be that. So, but so can a human with our unconscious biases and our unconscious type of things that we have. So how do we mitigate that? Not to blame the tool, but to still take human responsibility for it.
well, I think when you're looking at developing these tools, I think you really need to include your HR teams early to ensure alignment with our policies and ethics and culture. It'll help to reduce the risk and ensure AI is truly supporting your team for what you're doing. But again, for leaders wanting to get started, start
Mhm.
small. Pilot an AI on a limited task. And that's how I initially started. Test internally and gather feedback. You're correct. It's only as good as the information that you provide it. There's a lot of platforms now that will link to your folders or your SharePoint. Again, limiting external access to those sites. But again, if they're not organized properly, it's going to have a difficult time to try to give that immediate response to a user that might be looking for a certain policy or a bylaw that might be in place.
So I want to shift gears a little bit here. I completely agree with you on most of the things. So what can we tell people and council specifically that when we start using AI, should we have a communications department? Just an example. It's honestly just an example of 10 people. With the introduction of AI, we probably could use 4 or 5 people only. How do we mitigate that within the workforce?
I think there's opportunity for almost every department within an organization to utilize the features of AI, albeit different for different needs, of course. But again, it's a tool to help provide the additional time that allows a worker or a manager more time to spend with the people or on the processes and tools or systems, rather than being stuck dealing with the mundane task of creating notes or various different performance improvement plans, etc. I think we really need to start experimenting and trying to get that senior leadership buy-in to utilize these products and kind of gauge where there's benefit or return on that investment throughout the organization. But again, it's all about engagement.
Yeah. And part of that engagement is to get the insights out of it, right? And AI is
Correct.
phenomenal in taking data and turning it into information for better decision making. For example, you mentioned prior, just if we have a lot of staff turnover, to analyze where, how, when, what can we do
Cool.
better in order to reduce that? What other examples do you think AI can really help with within that HR sector to make it better?
Yeah, as I had mentioned, Daphne, AI can handle the repetitive tasks like,
Mm,
screening calls, interviews, investigative note taking, answering policy questions, generating documents, and managing onboard checklists. That means fewer manual steps and a faster turnaround. When it comes to hiring, it can analyze those skills that you has mentioned earlier, and apply consistent screening criteria. Again, only as good as the information that you're providing it
mhm.
for that screening. You still need that human touch to vet that information. It'll help support structured interviews and identify patterns linked to successful hires. Again, leads to faster, more fair decisions, even with a small recruiting team. When it comes to employee relations, these tools can provide quick answers, as I said, through a chatbot or routine questions. While those more complex matters can go to the HR department. Again, insights. I've been utilizing AI just recently with spreadsheets. Again, previously where we've required analytics teams for things like trends in turnover, engagement, absenteeism, or even workforce risks or attrition. These tools allow us to be able to do our job, and we can be proactive rather than reactive. Um, I'd like to say that, I remember many, many years ago, and I'm dating myself here, but I remember teaching at a university computer lab, and I had to do a lot of coding and a lot of mentoring and teaching students how to use the Word documents and the spreadsheet documents. And this is long before Microsoft Office came out. And so you probably aren't aware, but we had templates on our keyboards, and this is just another tool. It's not about technology for technology's sake. It's about using the right tools responsibly to create better workplaces.
Totally. Now, when we get into training, so I'm of the opinion that AI is just a tool. Yes. So yeah, normal training is well needed, understanding
Oh
the
yeah.
safety, understanding the privacy and security. However, the part where I am the most how can I put this? I put the biggest emphasis on is critical thinking. Now, the more we use the tool, the more we actually exercise our own judgment. It's like if you go to the gym and you stop picking up the weights and you had the machine to pick up the weights for you, you lose the muscle. If
Yeah.
pilots keep using autopilot when trying to land a plane in emergencies, they will not be able to actually land a plane because they've lost the skill set. Critical thinking is the same. Your brain
Oh,
is the most important muscle that you kind of had. So, as part of HR specifically, I believe within any policy should be critical thinking skills incorporated, training on that. How do you think, from a human perspective or from an HR perspective within the workplace, can we do that? How do we keep that critical thinking skills alive? Are we going to make them debate each other? Are they going to play?
no.
So, what is your
Yeah.
input on
I want to go back to that McKinsey use of its AI for their recruitment process, and having those candidates utilize the AI structure, and again, apply their judgment and to produce that clear and structured response. That focus on collaboration and reasoning rather than just the AI expertise alone. Again, I don't want to limit what AI can do to assist, especially in research and development. But again, you still need that human rationalization, that human touch, the empathy that humans have, and not necessarily AI at this point. I can see that possibly in the next 5 to 10 years, there might be a peak on people utilizing this to assist them. But I think we're going to want to go back to being able to reason and rationalize things from our own experiences, from our own accounts, from our own history. But again, we can align that with the use and technology that AI does provide us.
So there's one thing, and you mentioned that a few times about the organizational culture and values. Now, AI is trained on data sets. It is trained on data sets to create more data sets in order to get trained on the new data sets. But that's how AI technically works. So
Correct.
one of the things that happened a while ago, and as you know, I'm busy with my MBA at the time of this recording with an AI, and our discussion last night was about a humanoid, a robot that's kind of like human, that was developed in the EU. So it's their culture, their value system, it's how their data sets, basically, it's not Western. And the humanoid had a discussion with a female reporter, and it started groping her and kind of handling it inappropriately, right? So in that instance, my first response was, oh, there must be a glitch or something. But the more I'm thinking about it, it could be a cultural variation in how the data sets that it was trained on. So can we take that learning into the AI that we're using for our internal organizational data sets and how we want it to manage and help us and aid us in our way so that the values and the culture is aligned? I'm just trying to bring out the link here and just brainstorming with you here. But how do we make sure in the safeguarding and the railing that our cultures and our values aligns even with the AI and the production of it and the data sets that it was trained on by the development stage?
Is from my understanding, there's a lot of AI platforms, again, that limit. They have those guardrails, they have those rules in place that they can only do certain things within their limitations. A recent documentary I watched last week was Hyundai. They're utilizing AI robots in their factories. And again, they are learning by being taught, just as we would train or, a new employee onboarding on how to do a certain role or function. And that AI develops its own memory and process, so that's more effective and more efficient than it was originally mandated or taught. So again, it's really down to the parameters that are provided.
True. I find it fascinating and interesting the more we dig deeper into it, and how the human role is still so important in all of that. But James, thank you so much for chatting with me and sharing all your expertise. I really appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you?
Pardon me?
How can people get a hold of you?
Well, they can reach me on LinkedIn at my site, James Moller, CPHR. I'm sure you could provide it on this chat near the end. Again, in closing, I just want to say that when used thoughtfully and respectfully and, with people in mind, AI will allow not just AR, but all departments to do what it does best. And that, in any organization, it's about supporting the people, strengthening the culture, and enabling organizations to perform at their ultimate best.
True that. Well, thank you, James. And thank you so much for listening today. If there's anything you would like to ask James, please connect with him on LinkedIn. It will be on the link chat here below, and comment if there's any other topic you'd like to chat about that is AI related within local government. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.